know, it's funny. Everybody's an expert. It's Section 301, 122. You've taken America to school on tariffs. It's actually a household conversation this time around. And I'll ask you about this new investigation into the EU.
Yeah.
The 10% to 12.5% that are landing on 60 economies, including the EU, is based on the justification of violating forced labor laws. Can you explain that to? Does the EU have forced labor in its supply chain? Is this China? Where's it coming from?
Here's the problem. It's more than China.
Okay.
It's a lot more than China. Just think about Americans having to make stuff. Mm-hmm. And they have to compete not only against sweatshop labor, but also prison labor, forced labor.
Yeah.
China's got a lot of it in Uyghur country. But Brazil has a history of doing it. Malaysia, there's a bunch of countries that do it. So what happens is sometimes these countries directly export, but sometimes they'll send like cotton from China to Pakistan.
Okay.
And then Pakistan will use the cotton to come here. So this tariff is consistent with what Congress has said about forced labor. They've taken a very strong stand. Mm-hmm. So it's a 10% or 12.5% tariff, depending on whether you've been cooperating with our broader trade framework. But the bottom line is what we're trying to do is level the playing field for American workers and American businesses. And then this issue with Europe on our big tech companies. I mean, look, the president used the exact correct word. They treat them like piggy banks. The fines, these massive fines on Google and Meta and all of that. But there's also this issue of the digital tax, where they're trying to tax. They basically put the tax in. It's so disingenuous, Joe, because they put a tax on everybody on digital, but the only people who do it are the big American companies. So it's effectively a tax on America.
The fines are based on court cases, though, right? These flawed verdicts?
I'm not a big fan of courts and fairness these days. Okay. And being an American tech company in a European courtroom, I'm not sure that's going to be a just.
This is like a rounding error for these guys, though, isn't it? $1 billion.
The money, well, I think the point here is.
I know it's the principle of it.
I think that the fact that they're doing these digital taxes, which indicates Europe's appetite for turning our companies into piggy banks, puts us more wary about other kinds of abuses, and this seems like certainly another category of abuses.
I don't know if it's possible to hear from the ambassador. We spoke with the Irish ambassador to the United States today.
Yeah.
We had a pretty good relationship with Ireland, it seems, and have for a long time. And she explained that she was actually, they were pretty pleased when they woke up this morning, or I guess it was, late last night when they got the numbers from Jameson Greer, because there was a fear that it might be higher. Then she saw the president's post today.
Let's listen to what the ambassador said. You know we're winning.
All right, hang on. Listen to this.
When the sentiment is, woo, I thought it was going to be higher.
The 301 was an instrument that I think this administration had to choose since the court threw out the last instrument. We're not recognising that it has any implications for EU policy, but the actual framework in terms of the tariff level, as I said, was broadly positively received last night.
Geraldine Byrne-Nason then saw the post and they said, oh boy, what's this going to mean for us? Do you have a sense of what could come from this investigation?
Look, I think it's always important to remind your audience that we live in an international trade system under the World Trade Organization, which by rule allows Europe and the rest of the world to charge us systematically higher tariffs at the same time that World Trade Organization lacks what's called a dispute resolution mechanism. So when they cheat and we sue them and win, they don't basically honor the outcome of the suit. So what happens is Americans get screwed, and one number captures that unfairness. It's our massive trade deficit with Europe and China and around the world. Because if you go to the textbooks in trade, you're not supposed to have chronic balance of payments deficits. I mean, you're just not. Things are supposed to adjust. But the reason why that happens is because they cheat. So wherever they cheat, Jameson Greer is going to get them with a 301. Howard Lutnick at Commerce is going to get them with a 232. And we are rolling out other mechanisms like the 338 used for the forced labor one.
Wow. The analysis by Bloomberg Economics I found fascinating when they factored in exemptions, whether it be foodstuffs we can't get here, USMCA items or so forth. The actual real increase is pretty modest. It's 0.1% compared to where we were. The next round, though, you've got another investigation going right now on excess capacity, could actually bring the overall rate back to where it was pre-Supreme Court. Is that your view?
Well,
is that your expectation?
Let's talk about excess capacity.
Yeah.
Again, you have
that's the next round of tariffs.
You have one of the most sophisticated audiences in the world, and,
we're lucky that way.
People in Bloomberg land understand pretty clearly that excess capacity is bad for the international trading system because it puts all sorts of stresses and strains on that.
It can come in a lot of different forms.
Well,
right? Are you talking subsidies?
Well, let's take steel, for example. China has a massive amount of overcapacity
so they can
in
dump.
steel. And so what they do is they dump into all countries of the world. And what that does is deprive nations of the world not only of being able to produce steel for jobs, but nations like to have steel industries for national security purposes for good reason. Yeah. So this excess capacity thing, again, it's an issue that the World Trade Organization has given lip service to, but nobody cooperates on it. So we are basically, the United States is leading the world, illustrating how to defend against unfair trade practices. That's all. All we want is fairness and a level playing field. And I think people understand now, after we've had some years now of the tariffs, that they don't create the inflation that everybody says it's going to happen. That didn't happen. It helps get our trade deficit down. I think it's made the international trading system more stable in the sense of countries around the world are recognizing that the way to prosperity isn't by cheating, it's by innovation and markets and things like that.
Do you know when this current investigation will be complete?
Which one are we talking
into
about?
Excess capacity.
No, I mean...
So this could be months down the road?
Jameson Greer is very methodical. Yeah. I can't say more about him. Okay. He is one of the most intelligent guys who's measured and gets stuff done. USTR as an organization is very efficient, and they're just sequentially working through. And the 301s are an important part of the tools we have. 232s out of Commerce, those are primarily for the commodities, the steels, solar cells, it's critical minerals, copper, all of that, autos. What Jameson Greer has been doing is focusing on countries, but now he is expanding those 301 capabilities into some of these other measures. Got it. But it's good for the trading system ultimately because it's going to bring it back into balance. We can't run these large deficits for too long, Joe, without having significant issues that spill over into the bond market and the financial system.
You mentioned inflation. I've only got about 2 minutes left, and I know you're going to pull out the hammer when I ask you this question.
Yeah.
Look, we've seen some higher prices tied to tariffs that were, to your point, I think, one-time changes as opposed to rolling inflation. But the war in Iran has made life difficult. With crude between 90 and 100 now, we've got gas at 410, and the market says the Fed's more likely to hike. I'll tell you what, though, a lot of Fed watchers say not going to happen with this new chair. Warsh, do you think that he would raise rates in this environment?
Politically, Kevin Warsh has a huge problem. Okay, 7 people make the decision on rates, right? Warsh is only one of them, even though he's the chair. You've got essentially 4 people on that board who are Bidenites, Powellites, and in my view, forgive me, not as bright as we need to have.
You think they'd hike rates now?
Here's the teaching point here. What history teaches us, Joe, so essential. You do not hike interest rates into the teeth of an energy price shock, full stop. That's a supply side shock, an energy price shock. Bernanke understood that. Greenspan understood that. And the reason why you don't do it is because a supply shock, like energy prices, it will help. It induces, in addition, it induces a recession. Okay, it does the work of a rate hike, so you don't need to double down.
Well,
on
the
that.
bond market's
Unlike
doing work for
if
them,
you've
too.
got demand pull inflation, you want to rein the economy and slow things down, and everything's fine. But with the supply shock, you don't use rate hikes. So, memo to Kevin Warsh, memo to the Fed. Don't do that. And memo to the media, I would love to see more sophistication in understanding that point, because TV, print, whatever it is, oil prices go up, oh, it's going to raise the probability of Fed rate hike. Don't do that.